just in an innocent way, is probably one of the most defining things that is going to actually, lead to either social tension or lead to inclusive growth within India. So how do you take, close to 400 million people who today live in rural India who are not, either they are not educated enough, or they are educated but they are not employable enough. And that's a big problem. So your question is very good, that in due course, will wages in India rise to a level where we will become as expensive as the West? Maybe yes, but that will happen mostly in urban India. In rural India, it has not even touched the tip of the iceberg. And that is indeed where a lot of focus is going in now. There are a host of government policies, there are a host of government initiatives that are currently underway. Actually, as a matter of fact, we have some very accomplished Mayoites who are working in this field and are part of the Prime Minister's Council for Employability, who are working precisely on this issue. That how do we make rural India employable? Not just education. It's easy to go and set up a school and make somebody have a degree. It's not easy, but it's doable. But what after a degree? You have to give them something to do. And that's where one is hoping that if we get our policies and our execution right, rural India will be actually one of the forces driving India's growth into the next 20 years. But a good question there. Yes.
Sir, you spoke about that in the next 6 years, India is heading towards getting around 2 million people above the poverty line. 200 million people above the poverty line, and that India has to build up its infrastructure,
Right,
like railways and roadways. But sir, for that, environment has to be compromised, because there is the greenery and the forest cover has to be compromised. So is it worth it to compromise all that environment towards making, so that we can make, or we can move India towards becoming a superpower?
So yeah, no, that's again a very nice way you put it. Actually, your question is the question of now, but you put it very nicely. So the answer is really, is it worth it? It depends on how you do it. And let me give you a live example. So let's say when you're building a road, we see roads being built all over the countryside. The law is very clear. When you build a road, and if you're taking a forest stretch, so I'm now asking a question of is it worth it? So if I take, let's say, 1 kilometer of a forest stretch and I'm going to be cutting trees, which by the way is a very painful exercise. It really it leaves my heart when I see green cover going away. But there is a law. There is a process where no matter how you cut it, at the end of it, you have to plant 3 times the amount of trees that you cut. So I cannot build all these roads that you are seeing built here. If any tree is cut, it is under law obligatory upon the person who is building the road to plant 3 times those amount of trees. So the answer is yes, it is worth it, because the trade-off is you're linking 2 centers which may have economic activity or lead to economic activity. You're going to compromise some green cover, but you're going to more than compensate that by 3 times in other parts of India. So there are very strong and well thought through laws on when we are eating into green cover, how are people going to compensate for it? And it's not monetary compensation, it's actually planting trees.
But sir, there's no increase. There's only been decline in the forest cover and in the greenery.
And that comes back to the issue of implementation, execution and corruption. So, that is where I come back to the point. There are truly situations where large tracts of land are denominated as forest land, but there's not even a shrub there. But somebody is going to be making money out of that, because it's nice to have it denominated as forest land, because when you build something there has to be compulsory tree planting done, and that's corruption. Some places there's trees being cut, but people are not actually planting 3 times or even 1 time. So the answer doesn't lie in the answer lies in executing law the way it is, in weeding out corruption, in people being disciplined, in our leaders being strong, us being strong. And one of the things that I travel often and visit often policy makers in the Yojana Bhavan, the planning commission in Delhi. And I can tell you, it's very easy to blame politicians and leaders. It's in our hands. There is nothing which stops me, and I must say you, because you're still probably a minor. There's nothing that stops me from filing FIRs against 10 people that I believe are part of a land mafia or part of a tree mafia. And believe me, people are doing it. There are movements going on right now in parts of Uttaranchal, in parts of the hill places of India, Jharkhand included, Well, people are taking this very seriously. The question you've asked, people are taking, in some cases, law into their own hands. In some cases, they're fighting, strong battles, and we're getting there. I mean, what you raised is a very sensitive issue, and it's a very pertinent issue. But my answer is, there is law in the land which takes care of that. Implementation has been, in some cases, good, in many cases, shoddy. We're going to keep fighting and making it work. Yes.
What are my future prospects if I do wealth management abroad?
So, wealth management is basically a branch of banking where you manage the wealth of other people, well, and hopefully even yours. The prospects, if you want to do wealth management abroad, if you mentioned abroad, and of course abroad is a very big term. Wealth management is a very relationship-driven industry. The people whose wealth you are managing, so at a very basic level, if there's somebody who is taking your advice to take care of their family wealth, they must have a very strong relationship with you. So it's a very relationship-driven business. It's not something that you would just, allow and trust anybody with. So wealth management, by definition, is typically done in a place where either you have, very good contacts, or you have built contacts, or you're part of an institution where you are targeting a certain segment of people. So let's say you're somebody who, I'm just taking an example, suppose you're somebody who has a very sporty background. Then the chances are that you'd be expected to build relationships with people who are also sports oriented, because it's a very relationship oriented thing. So that's one answer about wealth management. Wealth management is a relationship based role, and if you want to do that, you need to do it in a place where you are effective. The prospects abroad for that, like in India, are very good. I mean, there is definitely a lot of wealth being created in different parts of the world, more so in India now than in other parts of the world. And I think the challenge in wealth management always lies in being able to give the right kind of financial products to your clients which they need. So in India, for example, I know that there are a lot of people who call themselves wealth management people. These are just jargon words, but they are not selling the right kind of products to their clients. They're actually selling them products which they probably don't need, but they're convincing them by charm, marketing, hard sale, etc., and pasting them with financial products which are probably not ideal for them. So wealth management also is an industry which it by definition invites itself to regulation. That the people who are part of the wealth management industry need to be regulated, that they are doing things by a code of conduct, they're doing things as per law, that they are explaining things to their clients. But the prospects, the answer is the prospects are very bright, certainly in India. In pockets abroad, they are bright because all over the world things are not exactly economically strong right now, but I think over a period of time it's a very strong industry to be part of. Yes. Yeah.
So, don't you feel the root cause of all corruption and overpopulation is illiteracy? And as you said that India is going to process trillion money on this infrastructure. So instead of giving it to infrastructure, first they can provide it for the illiteracy part, because the corruption, all the global warming, issues like global warming are coming, the cutting of trees only because of illiteracy.
Right. Short answer, I agree with you. And it is being addressed. So you must know that there are various initiatives, both by the private sector and by the government sector, in the area of literacy. Because you mentioned literacy. I'm not even going into education right now, I'm going into literacy. The challenge with literacy again, really is that it's a two-way street. You can't impose literacy on somebody. You need to impose literacy on somebody because it should become a means to an end. So to give you again a very specific example, in many parts of rural India where I've traveled, I found that people are more interested in becoming employable and saying, teach me a vocational skill and don't teach me 10 subjects. I'd rather that my child goes to a place where they can pick up a vocational skill which they can then employ in the local confines, and that could be in handicraft, that could be in small engineering, that could be in the telecom world, that could be in financial products, selling financial products. But give me something with which I can actually earn livelihood. But so it's a mix. You have to always see literacy as a means to an end, not an end in itself. But generally speaking, you're absolutely right. If we did not have the illiteracy hang that we have, a lot of our problems frankly to do with voting. I mean, we are the largest democracy in the world, but as is often said, we're a very dangerous democracy because people do not know exactly what they're voting for and what their vote can do and cannot do. So your point is correct. Literacy is a big national issue. We have failed in it miserably. But now going forward, our problem is not just literacy, it's actually making people employable and letting them earn livelihood. So it has to be seen in the context of employability. But it is a focus area. Yes, sir.
Sir, about corruption, what you said that we have to stop being corrupt. I agree with you on that issue, but the thing is, out of 100 people, if 20 are not corrupt, and at the end of the day, the other 80 are corrupt, and by the end, that money goes all to the politician and stuff, which has to be taken out in the country somehow. First of all, the politicians are corrupt, and second thing, those 20 who are not corrupt, by the end of the day, they are the ones who feel that we earn less and still nothing happened in the country. So by that doesn't motivate people.